Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of my name is Tom Timbrooks, and I am running for representative. So, our House of Representatives, United States House of Representatives. So, here I am. Like I said, I'm Thomas W. Timbrooks. I'm running for United States House of Representatives. I want to represent Oregon's 6th Congressional District for the Republican Party. That's right, I'm a Republican in Oregon, so hey, I'm on the dream team. My motto is I want to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district, and I've got some plans on how to do that. But mostly this show is just all about you getting to know me. I want you to know who I am as well as what I am, okay? What a person is everything about a person that can be commoditized. If you're a doctor, you heal the sick. If you're an architect, you create buildings. And if you're a politician, you represent the people. And I want you to understand how it is I am going to represent you, what I am, what kind of person I am, what I will do to represent the people of Oregon. In the first place, a lot of people don't understand what is a representative. A representative, a person at the House of Representatives, that person's whole purpose is to bring money to your congressional district. And we are living here in Oregon. I am living in the 6th Congressional District. There are 6 congressional districts in Oregon. The 6th Congressional District is the newest congressional district. It was created in 2020. You see, every 10 years, government runs a census and they find out how many people are living in places, where they're living, and they figure this out and they say, well, there's this many seats in the House of Representatives, right? There's 425, I believe, might be 435 or 425. Anyways, so they divide the population of the United States by this, and they say, okay, there's this many congressional districts, and this is how many this state gets in this state, like that. And so we in Oregon have 6 congressional districts because of our population, our size, and like I said, the 6th congressional district is the newest. It's been around since 2020. So I live there. I would like to represent the district because, being a manufacturing engineer, I can bring jobs to Oregon's 6th Congressional District. I know exactly how to bring jobs. I know what kind of jobs we can do here. I know what we can do here. I've worked for the marketing department at the last place I worked, Intel. And working for the marketing department, you understand, it's all about creating value. For instance, Henry Ford once said, if I gave the customer what the customer wanted, I would have given the customer faster horses. You see, Henry Ford understood that in order to sell automobiles, you have to provide the customer with value. And the customer knew that a horse was a lot cheaper, a lot less expensive, a lot more durable, a lot more universal a tool than a vehicle was. So Henry Ford wanted to reduce the cost of vehicles as much as possible. In his Model T Ford, he famously said, you can have the Model T in any color you want as long as it's black, because he knew that by providing additional colors, he was going to jack up the cost of the vehicle. And he knew that the person who wanted the Model T was the farmer, the average person. And that's who he created the Model T Ford. So that's what marketing is all about, creating value. And I understand how to create value in the system that we have here in the 6th Congressional Districts. I've checked out all the businesses around here. I understand exactly how to create the value in the businesses around here. So it's all about marketing. Now, speaking of marketing, most recently, and this is something that I need you to understand about me. If I want you to vote for me, you're going to ask me things like, what about the No Kings rally? This last weekend, there was a No Kings rally, and that's something I want to talk about today. Is the whole point of the No Kings rally, the whole idea of the No Kings rally, what it meant, what's function. So I want to get on with that now. Let's got some slides here. So like I said, make Oregon 6th congressional district America's greatest congressional district, and here we have the No Kings rally. Of course, I am a conservative Republican, so I am, okay, No Kings and why fascism is bad. I'm going to cover both of these topics, but they are interrelated. Okay, so just stick around. I hope you stick around. I hope I'm not boring. I know I've got one of those voices that makes you go to sleep, so just before you go to sleep tonight, watch my show and you'll sleep like a baby, trust me. But anyway, these things are interrelated, so let me go ahead and figure it out. Okay, so in the United States, we don't have kings by design. A king makes decisions and carries them out by his own authority. His word is the law. A president, on the other hand, doesn't make the law. The president's job is to faithfully execute the laws made by Congress, and even then, only within the limits of the Constitution. That distinction between the power to make decisions and the duty to carry them out is the foundation of our republic. It's the wall between liberty and tyranny. And the part of the Constitution, I've said this before, but I want you to understand this about me. I have a working knowledge of the Constitution. I have a working understanding of the Constitution. I can't tell you how many times I've been watching YouTube and somebody is questioning a politician, and I ask the politician, what is Article 1 of the Constitution? And they don't know. What's Article 5 of the Constitution? They don't know. Okay, so that you understand that I know about the Constitution. Article 1 of the Constitution is the powers and the responsibilities of Congress. So that is the legislative branch. Article 2 of the Constitution is the powers and responsibilities of the executive branch. That is the president. And one of the powers of the president, one of the responsibilities of the president, Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution says that the president shall carry out all laws created by Congress. So the laws that Donald Trump is carrying out, the laws that he's enforcing right now, are laws that were created by Congress. So Donald Trump is not creating his own laws. He's not carrying out his own agenda. The voters put him in the seat of the president because the voters wanted Donald Trump to carry out the laws that Congress has already passed. Basically, the voters were saying, Joe Biden, we know you weren't enforcing the laws. And Kamala Harris, we know that you weren't going to enforce the laws. We need Donald Trump as president because we know he's going to enforce the laws. So right there, he's not a king, he's a president. A king isn't going to do what somebody else tells him to do. The president is going to do what somebody else tells him to do. That's the Constitution, okay? So, Article 3 of the Constitution is the judicial branch. That's the Supreme Court. Article 4 of the Constitution establishes how the states interact with each other and how the federal government interacts with the states. Article 5 of the Constitution is the amendment process. Article 6 of the Constitution establishes the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. And Article 7 of the Constitution establishes exactly how the Constitution is going to become the supreme law of the land. So there you have it there. See, a lot of people in Congress, if you ask these, you go up to a congressional representative, you go up to your representative and you say, what's Article 4 of the Constitution? If that person doesn't know what Article 4 is, get that person out of the office. That person obviously doesn't care enough about representing you to learn about the Constitution. Okay, so there, that's what you should do. Okay, so anyways, Today, some accuse the president of acting like a king for deploying the National Guard to help enforce immigration law and protect ICE facilities. This isn't royal behavior, it's constitutional responsibility. Like I said, that is Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution. That gives the president the authority over, well, actually, Article 2, Section 2 gives the president authority over the Army, the Navy, and all of the state militias. So the National Guard being part of the state militia, the president has authority over the National Guard. Therefore, the president can use the National Guard to enforce the law. Boom, there you go. He's not a king. Okay, so Congress passed the laws that govern our borders. The president's oath requires him to enforce these laws. Now, when state and local officials refuse to cooperate, he still bears that duty to execute the law, to defend federal officers, and to preserve national order. That's not tyranny, that's fidelity to the Constitution. A king acts for himself. A president acts on behalf of the people within the boundaries the people established through their elected representatives. The difference is everything, and forgetting that difference is how republics lose themselves. The president isn't a king. The president doesn't decide what's right. The president executes the laws passed by the representatives of the people. Even Congress, the voice of the people, can't act outside the limits of the Constitution because the law itself stands above them all. That's the American miracle. Strength, not through force unity, but through balanced independence. In this country, no individual is the bundle. And right there I'm talking about something I'm going to be referring to later on in the conversation. But anyway, no individual is a bundle. No ideology is the binding cord. No one is above the law, not even the law's executor. So, okay, what I'm talking about there with the bundle, a bundle of sticks is called a fasci. All right, and this is back in, the Latin term for a bundle of sticks that is put together is called a fasci, and you have it bound together. This is where we get the term fascism from, because the term fascism refers to the fasci, which means, together a bundle of sticks is strong, individually they're weak. And that's something I'm going to be referring to about how, the president is the king and why fascism is bad. Those two things are intertwined. So, yeah, sorry about that. I got the slide a little bit mixed up there. But, anyways, back to it. No one is above the law, not even the law's executor. So power in America is distributed between the states, the branches of government, and most importantly, the people themselves. Our strength doesn't come from unity enforced by power. It comes from diversity protected by law. In America, the individual is the forest. Each citizen is meant to grow tall, independent, and strong, not bound to any ideology, leader, or party. That's why the phrase "no kings" is ridiculous. Our system was created by people who already understood that the moment we surrender our individuality for the promise of safety is the moment we start walking the path back to monarchy. The founders didn't just reject kings, they rejected the human desire to create them. And I'm sorry, grow tall, independent, and strong, that's referring to something else later in the conversation here. Hey, this is how you know I'm not AI, okay? I am not an AI generated image or anything. I am a real person, and yeah, I make mistakes, so just bear with me. This is the way you know I'm going to make a good representative, because if I do make a mistake, I'm going to take responsibility for it. I'm going to say, okay, yeah, that was my bad. That was my mistake. I did a bad thing there. So let's move on. It's like I said before in another video I did, life is about good whiskey, bad decisions, and learning how to move on. So let's move on, okay? So what is the point of the No Kings movement? Well, fundraising platforms such as Act Blue are the marketing arms for the Democratic National Convention, or Democratic National Committee. Their success depends on keeping donors energized and concerned. It's entirely possible that labeling a political opponent a king is less about genuine belief and more about marketing strategy, because passion drives contributions. The point isn't that anyone is committing fraud, but that fear and outrage are effective fundraising tools, and both parties have learned to use them. So no kings isn't about no kings. No kings is about getting more money for the Democratic National Committee to spend on campaigning. And that's their job. That's their job. So the 9 principles of propaganda, the big lie. Big lies work better than small because masses won't believe that anyone would lie about that. And yeah, hey, no kings. I mean, who's going to lie about that, right? Focus. Don't make it complicated. Ignore history. Keep it simple or for simple minds. And hey, 2 words, no kings. Boom, there you go. Repeat. People cannot tell the difference between the facts and familiarity. If they hear the same words repeated enough, they become true in their minds. And boom, there you go. Blame. Never credit the other side. Always blame, debase, defame, and dehumanize. They're doing that also. Provoke outrage, fear, and resentment are... provoke. Okay, provoke is number 5. Outrage, fear, and resentment are more powerful than reason, logic, or facts. Crisis. Issues must be life or death, good versus evil, love versus hate, us versus them. Urgency defeats obligation. And this is a big thing right here. I have heard people on the Democrat side say, well, you're a Republican, you're the enemy. I'm not the enemy. And you're not my enemy. Okay? We aren't enemies. This isn't a war. There is no victory. We are both, as politicians, we are all there to make America the best possible country that we can make it. We are all there to distribute federal dollars to states so that those states can make the best use of those federal dollars. That's what we're here for. I mean, if I have an opinion and you have a different opinion, we're supposed to discuss each other's opinions and walk away from that discussion with better ideas. That's the nature of a conversation. And crisis prevents that conversation from happening. Okay, so that's why crisis is important, because they want, people who are trying to get your money, they want to avoid any kind of compromise, any kind of logic. So emotion. A person might question facts, but they will never question their own feelings. Go emotional. Pander. Ignore reasonable arguments, demonize all who disagree as having bad intentions. Boom, there you go right there. Like these people will say, hey, if you're a Republican, that means you're a bigot, you're a fascist, and you're a racist. Boom, there you go. So, no limits. Morality is for losers. The victor's morality will not be questioned. No limits. Okay, so that is... That's the whole no kings thing was it's just a marketing campaign. It's just like Free Palestine. Okay, Free Palestine was a marketing campaign. See, the Democratic National Committee wants money. They want your money. They want you to donate to their cause. And so what the Democratic National Committee does is they take paid protesters and they put them out on the street, and if there is no cause, they create a cause. Free Palestine, that was a cause also, okay? So these paid protesters, they're out there on the street protesting. They don't even know where Palestine is. Okay, well, now Palestine, Trump went in and he got a ceasefire to happen. He got the hostages released. And in Palestine, Hamas has taken control. And now Hamas is lining people up and executing them publicly, because apparently they just weren't supporting Hamas enough during the conflict. Okay, so that is, okay, Palestine is now free, and Hamas is having public executions. Where are the protesters? Are the protesters that were, hey, free Palestine, shouldn't they be protesting the public executions that are happening in Palestine right now? No, they're not doing that. And the reason they're not doing that is because they aren't being paid to go out on the street and protest. And that's because the Democratic National Committee doesn't see any profit in it. They want your money, and your money is only going to come to them if they create the illusion of crisis. Okay, so that's what the No Kings thing was all about. It's just marketing. Like I said, when I worked in marketing at I've worked in marketing at several places. It was all about value, creating value. Okay? Your political value, the money you give the Democratic National Committee, what is its value? Well, we're freeing Palestine. Now Palestine is free. Yay, we won. And now we can let the public executions happen. Okay? See, so that's the insanity there. So basically, later on in the presentation, I'm going to say, just don't give in to marketing. You know, pay attention to where your money is going. Pay attention to what it's doing. So, anyways, now we're going to talk about, and these are our ICE friends, our friends with ICE, great heroes, terrific people, and of course they are chasing off the Antifa people. So let's talk about fascism now. The word fascism comes from the Latin word fasces, which is a bundle of sticks tied together. Remember when I mentioned a bundle of sticks tied together earlier in the presentation because it was on one of my other slides? Yeah, this is what I was talking about. So the idea was simple. A single stick can be broken easily, but a bundle of sticks bound together is strong. On the surface, that sounds noble, strength through unity, but look a little deeper and you'll see the danger. Now, here we have, well, that is a United States of America 10-cent piece, minted in 1945, and on the back of that dime, you will see a fasce. That is a fasce. You will also see e pluribus unum, which means from many, one. And that's what they're talking about. You have a bunch of little sticks. They're all tied together. They make one big axe, and now it works better than any of the little sticks together. So here we have Congress, and I don't know if this is the Senate or the House of Representatives. I think it's the Senate. But if you look on the wall of Congress, United States Congress, you see a couple of fasces. These are the symbol of unity, strength through unity. And so the United States of America, Congress, had the things in Congress a long time ago. We had them before it was hip. We had them before Mussolini and Hitler. We get them from the Roman Empire used the fasce as a symbol of strength through unity. Okay, so fascism is really a very old concept. It's very old, and nobody ever really liked it. And so, you know, oh God, I'm going to go somewhere with this, so just stick around, okay? Just stick around. I only have like an hour. I want to go through my slides. Fascism takes root when weak-minded people with weak ideas bind themselves together in the hope that their collective strength will make up for their individual weaknesses. But when weak ideas fail, and they always do, those same people begin to crave strong leadership. They look for someone who can make their weak ideas work through force, fear, or control. That's when the bundle becomes a weapon. That's when the people are offered the ultimate incentive, which is security, in exchange for their obedience. That's the true meaning of fascism. Fascism is a political system that offers security to its people in exchange for their willing indoctrination into a single ideology. And I want you to remember that because there's going to be a test later, okay? One of the things, if I were to run an Antifa cell, the very first thing I would require all of the people in my Antifa cell to do would be to define fascism. And so that definition of fascism that I would need them to know is, it is a political system that offers security to its people in exchange for their willing indoctrination into a single ideology. So that's here. Look at that. Black Lives Matter. Yep, they offer security for indoctrination. And hey, Free Palestine in the top right there. Yeah, they offer security for indoctrination. And the No Kings thing, they offered security for indoctrination. If you believe in the No Kings thing, they will not be mean to you. They won't call you a fascist. They won't call you a dictator. And Antifa won't come around your house and cause all kinds of noise. And in the bottom right there, you see a bunch of white supremacists from the 1950s, and they were also promising safety through indoctrination. As long as you, a white person, were against race mixing and against black people intermingling with white people, they would not burn down your house. And this is something my grandfather was a business person in Missouri, and he would hire black people, white people, whoever showed up to do a day's work, he would hire them. Now, black people would generally show up before the sunrise. And he would hire them, he'd start them working, and they would do a whole bunch of labor. And then sometime in the afternoon, white people would start showing up. And for every white person that showed up, my grandfather would have to let a black person go home, because some people you hire because they're going to do the job and do the job well. Some people you hire so that you don't have them burn down your business, okay? So that's a lesson that white business owners learned in Missouri, and Arkansas, Mississippi, those places. They learned that you hire some people because you want the job done, and you hire other people because you don't want them to burn down your business, okay? So that's something he learned back then. And yeah, that's, like I said, the bottom right there, the white supremacists in the 1950s, basically they would keep you safe if you allowed yourself to be completely indoctrinated in their ideology. So if you don't want your business burnt down, you go to those Klan rallies. That was the nature of their belief system back then. So the most famous fascists, Hitler and Mussolini, didn't start by recruiting the wise or the experienced. They recruited the young. That wasn't a flaw in their plan. It was the plan. Young people are supposed to be idealistic. They're supposed to test ideas, make mistakes, and learn how to think for themselves. That's not a problem. It's a feature of being human. Like that software specialist said, it's not a bug, it's a feature, right? And there you are. This is the Hitler Youth here, and he's recruiting the Hitler Youth, and that whole stadium is full of young people who have all kinds of ideas. They really don't know how to think or anything, but they are looking for strong leadership. And this is the bundle of sticks. Those kids, all those children, 16, 17, 18 years old, that is the bundle of sticks that makes the Fasci. And when they're all bundled together, all of their young, immature, terrible ideas, well, now they're still young, immature, terrible ideas, but they're all put together, so it doesn't matter that they're terrible ideas. The government is providing them with power. So they have the power. They're going to make things happen the way they want them to happen. It's just that's the situation. Power will always trump authority. Okay, power is the ability to get somebody to do something while you're present. You will do this thing at the point of a gun. You'll do it because people are afraid of your power. Authority is the ability to get somebody to commit to something because they believe in the idea. So authority takes a long time to build up. It requires trust. It requires safety and so forth. Power, if you got a gun pointed at somebody's head, you've got power. So power will always trump authority. So that's the situation there. So the word fasces refers to a bundle of twigs bound together. Every great tree, even the mightiest oak, started as a twig. But if you bind those twigs together before they've had time to grow, you never get a forest. You just get a bundle. And oh, I know where, yep, this is the next one. Fascism does the same thing to people. It gathers young minds, minds that are still learning, still growing, and ties them together in a single ideology. Instead of learning to stand strong on their own, they become part of a bundle that can only move in one direction, under one hand, with one will. That's what's truly tragic about fascism. It prevents strength from ever developing by taking independent thinkers and turning them into an obedient mob. And that, see, if I were to have a fascist cell, that's the second thing that I would require people to understand. Number one, fascism is a political system that the government trades your security for ideological indoctrination. And number two, what is bad about fascism? What's bad about fascism is it recruits young people and uses and basically takes their ideas before they've had an opportunity to become good ideas. It takes their bad ideas and it gives them opportunity to exercise their bad ideas. And anybody who stands in the way, they get run over because power trumps authority. So that's the second thing that I would require my Antifa people to understand is what is fascism? Why is fascism bad? Okay, so it's going to be a test later, maybe. I don't know. You'll probably be asleep by then. The founders of the United States understood this danger long before the word fascism ever existed. They knew that human beings are drawn to strength and that when times are hard, people crave certainty. They knew that certainty can be weaponized. That's why they didn't build a system that revolved around one leader, one ideology, or one ruling class. They built a republic. In a republic, power is divided, not bundled. The legislative, executive, and judicial branches are deliberately separated so that no one hand can hold the bundle together. I told you that's how you know I'm not a AI. So, quick story about fascism. I'm not going to do an hour thing here or anything. I'm just going to do a quick story about fascism, okay? Back in the 1920s and 1930s, as Mussolini rose to power in Italy and Hitler gained ground in Germany, ordinary citizens saw what was happening. They watched as their freedoms disappeared, speech restricted, opposition outlawed, newspapers silenced. They saw the fasces come to life, a nation of bound minds moving in one direction, under one will. Some of those people decided to resist. They called themselves anti-fascists. They were the original Antifa. Their goal wasn't anarchy, it was freedom. They wanted to stop the machine of fascism before it consumed their nations completely. They were crushed. Not because they were wrong, but because they had no foundation strong enough to withstand the total power of the state. Like I said, power will always trump authority. Power will always crush authority. Once fascism controls the laws, the courts, and the press, resistance becomes nearly impossible. That's the critical difference between Europe back then and America back then. Fascism never took root here because our founders built a system that doesn't allow the bundle to form. Okay, now we're going to talk about the unification of Germany, and a lot of people don't know this. Okay, you look there, that is a map of Europe, and this is what's called Deutschland, or what would eventually become Germany, and it includes, well, a lot of places there, but before 1865, there was no Republic of Germany. The whole place was just a loosely affiliated group of minor kingdoms and principalities and so forth. And they were all just being pushed around. In the north, they were being pushed around by the Prussian Empire. They were being extorted. If you want us to protect you, you'll give us money. And in the south, you had the Ottoman Turk Empire. And the Ottoman Turk Empire, they would come in, and basically they would take slaves. And this is actually where they would get the term slave from. Slave, it comes from Yugoslavia or Slavs. The Ottoman Turk Empire would come into Europe and take people. Most of the people they took were children. And most of those children, almost entirely, were little girls. They would take these little girls, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and they just loved the blue eyes and the blonde hair. They would take these little girls and take them back to the Ottoman Turk Empire, and they would use them as slaves. And a lot of times they were trained how to be subservient to men and become their little mistresses and so forth. So that's what was happening in southern Germany. The Ottoman Turk were capturing slaves all over the place, and in northern Germany, the Prussian Empire was extorting them for protection. So things were not very good for the German people at that time. So they needed to unify. Okay, so between 1865 and 1871, the unification of Germany. And during the American Revolution, the British Crown hired mercenaries from the German states, men who came from lands still ruled by empires. Those soldiers fought against the idea that ordinary people could govern themselves. They fought in the United States. They fought the British hired these German mercenaries from a place called Hesse. In Germany, this little place was called Hesse. That's why they called them Hessian mercenaries. Hessian mercenaries. And the Hessian mercenaries were assisting the British militarily over in against the American revolutionaries. And when the American revolutionaries beat the British, the Hessian mercenaries went back to Deutschland, and that must have been a really quiet ride going over there, because I mean, they were looking at each other. They were probably thinking, how did that happen? I mean, we are the best military that money can buy, and those peasants in America, they won? How's that possible? So like I said, it must have been a really quiet boat ride back to Deutschland. So those soldiers fought against the idea that ordinary people could govern themselves. When the war ended and they saw the colonists victorious, something must have stirred inside them. They had seen the impossible. Farmers, craftsmen, and shopkeepers stand up to one of the most powerful empires in the world and win. When they returned home, the idea didn't disappear. It spread quietly through Europe, through taverns, universities, and secret societies. The idea that people could choose liberty over obedience. The German people of the 18th and 19th centuries were trapped between two great powers, the Prussian Empire in the north and the Ottoman Turks pressing from the southeast through their influence over the Balkans. And if you don't know where the Balkans are at, the Balkans are all the countries around Greece. Okay, you have Greece, you have Montenegro, Kosovo, Serbia, North Macedonia, Albania, and they're all around the Adriatic and the Aegean. And you can tell the difference between the Adriatic and the Aegean. The Aegean is down by Greece, okay? There's Aegean Greece and Aegean Sea. That's how I remember it, okay? So yeah, those areas right there, that's the Balkans. And the Turks were in control of the Balkan area, so they came up through there and invaded Europe and took little blue-eyed, blonde-haired girls back to Turkey to be their love slaves and so forth. That's what I'm talking about there. Ordinary Germans were heavily taxed to support endless wars and the lavish lifestyles of their rulers. Industry, trade, and even education were tightly controlled by aristocrats who treated the common citizen as a tool of the state. And like I said, the Prussian Empire demanded loyalty, obedience, and wealth. It was a kind of financial extortion: serve the crown or be crushed by it. To the south and east, the Ottoman Empire represented another kind of bondage. Through centuries of conflict and occupation across Eastern Europe, Europe, millions were captured or conscripted into labor and military service. While the Ottomans didn't rule Germany directly, their shadow across the continent kept the German people in a constant state of fear and militarization, a cycle of subservience to the empire that never seemed to end. Between these two forces, the German people longed for independence, not just from foreign empires, but from the entire idea of imperial rule. They wanted to be citizens, not subjects, workers, not servants, just like the Americans. So the American Revolution more than likely inspired Germany to become a republic. And this is something I tell people. World War II didn't start when Adolf Hitler got to power in government. World War II started back when the Americans won their independence from the British. That's when World War II started. It goes way back. So anyways, that desire, the yearning to stand upright and govern themselves, was the seed of the German Republic. It may very well have been inspired by what they saw in America. Ordinary people breaking free from empire and building a government rooted in liberty. In both nations, the need was the same. The people wanted more than freedom from oppression. They wanted protection through participation. They understood that a true republic doesn't give safety by controlling its people. It gives safety by empowering them to take part in their own defense, their own labor, and their own laws. That's the shared bond between the American and German republics. Two peoples who discovered that the only lasting protection comes not from kings or empires, but from a nation built to protect the rights of its citizens equally, through law, through liberty, and through the strength of individual responsibility. After the First World War, both Germany and the United States stood at the crossroads. Each nation had fought to defend freedom. Each was proud, wounded, and searching for stability. But the paths they took could not have been more different. Germany's new republic, the Weimar Republic, was born in pain. The nation had been humiliated by defeat, crushed by war debt, and stripped of pride. Inflation destroyed savings, unemployment destroyed families, and despair destroyed faith in democracy itself. In the chaos, the German people turned to what looked like strength. They traded liberty for leadership and found security in submission. A single leader promised to restore order, rebuild the economy, and give the nation back its pride. But in doing so, he bound the bundle once again. And that's the Fasci returned, and with it, fascism. America faced many of the same pressures: economic collapse, social division, and waves of fear, but our system held. Not because we were immune to those forces, but because our foundation and our geography gave us room to breathe. The United States is protected by two vast oceans. We are isolated from the great conflicts of Europe and Asia, buffered by distance and time. Our borders are not war zones. Our people, for most of our history, have not lived under the shadow of invasion. Unlike the crowned nations of Europe, America is blessed with abundance, more farmable land than all of Europe's land combined. And if you look at a map of Europe, what you're going to find is the United States has more farmland than Europe has land at all. So, you know, we've got the breadbasket. We've got a very usable area to create food. So we really don't have to worry about a lot of the things that German people had to worry about. Okay, so this is part of the reason that they had fascism, and fascism never took hold in America. So unlike the crowded nations of Europe, America is blessed with abundance, more farmable land than Europe's land combined. We can feed ourselves, fuel ourselves, and defend ourselves without begging empire for mercy. That natural independence gave our republic the stability it needed to survive its hardest tests. And here you can see, I mean, there's Europe way over there, and there's Asia way over there, and there's the United States of America sitting there in between oceans. Well, we got oceans protecting us, all right? Now, I mean, look, if Spain wanted to invade somebody, they'd be like, who should we invade? Should we invade America? Yeah, It's kind of difficult. Ooh, hey, right next to us, that's Portugal. Yeah, let's invade Portugal. Yeah. And same thing in Asia. You know, China's like, hey, let's invade America. Yeah, let's not invade America. Let's invade Taiwan. Yeah, that's a lot easier, you know. And so this is a big part of the reason that America never had to even think about going to fascism, is because we had nothing to worry about. You know, they had a lot of worry. In Europe and Asia, all worries all the time. America, pff, chill out, relax, man, smoke a doob. We've got all the food, we've got the military and missiles, everything. We're not getting invaded. So geography gave us safety, but our Constitution gave us strength. The founders understood that true security doesn't come from oceans or armies alone. It comes from balanced power and moral restraint. Oh, that coffee, good. Germany fell into fascism because fear replaced faith, faith in order, faith in process, and faith in liberty. America endured because our people still believe that the republic itself, not a ruler, was their protector. The lesson is timeless. The surest way to lose freedom is to look for someone else to defend it for you. A free people need courage, patience, and the will to stand for themselves. And I know a lot of people are out there going like, well, wait a minute, aren't we doing that with Donald Trump? Aren't we, isn't, you know, MAGA, aren't you a MAGA Republican and all this other stuff? No. Donald Trump is executing the will of the people. That is his constitutional job. The Constitution gives, well, actually the Constitution forces Donald Trump to do that. If Donald Trump doesn't enforce the law, he's impeached. That's Article 4 of the Constitution. I'm sorry, Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution. So Article 2 is the executive, rights and responsibilities of the executive branch. Section 4 of Article 2 states that the president can be impeached by this, that, and the other. So, yeah, the Constitution actually requires Donald Trump to do what he's doing. So he's not a king, he's a president. And as a president, he's doing what the president is supposed to do. So, free people need courage, patience, and the will to stand for themselves. So, what have we learned so far? From the beginning, mankind has struggled between two desires, the desire to be free and the desire to feel safe. Fascism promises safety, but it demands obedience. Freedom promises nothing, but it allows everything. So it allows you to grow. And essentially, the point that I was making before about the whole Fasci is this. Every tree, you go out to the forest. Oregon here, we got forests in Oregon. I got a little bump on my head there, man. It's weird. I tried to get that. See, I don't actually have a bump on my head. It's just a cow lick. That annoys me. See, my microphone fell off. What's going on there, man? Anyways, see, I can see a monitor. Here's me right here. I can watch as I'm doing this stuff, and I can see like everything I'm doing, everything. And whenever I turn my head this way or this way, because I've got white hair and against the black background, it's just like that. And every time I do this thing, I look down. I'm like, do I have a bump on my head? Does my head come to a weird point or something? No, that's just hair. This is the way the hair grows and everything. But anyways. Oregon. We're living in Oregon. Forests all over the place. Beautiful, big, giant trees. You look at that tree and you're like, that's a neat tree. And then you walk up to that tree and that tree goes from this to this, to this. And I mean, wait a minute. I was just looking at that tree. It did not look like this. Well, that tree is this. That tree started out as a twig. 250 years ago, that tree was a twig. All right? A Fasci is made up of a bunch of twigs. You take these twigs and you create a Fasci, okay? Bind them together, okay? Now, if you take all of the twigs in the forest and you put them together, 250 years from now, you're not going to have a forest because you took all the twigs and you made them into a Fasci. You see, you took whatever potential that forest may have had. You might have had a forest growing there. And it might have taken 20, 30 years for some pretty decent pines and oaks and you know, those trees to grow up. But instead of doing that, you pulled them all out and you made a fosse out of them, okay? And so those twigs will not grow into trees. Well, let's think about this. If you're a young person and you have an idea, that's the twig. Okay, your idea is a twig. It's weak, it can't stand by itself, and it needs to be given time to grow. It needs to be given time to develop. You can't, I mean, any idea goes through phases. Okay, this is a terrible idea right now, but if I keep thinking about it, if I keep on developing it, it'll go from a terrible idea to a good idea. I mean, that's how Bill Gates made Microsoft. That's how Henry Ford made his motor company. That's every idea that was a fantastic, amazing idea was at one time some stupid, mindless idea, I mean, that nobody believed in. Every great big tree was at one time a twig. The bad thing about fascism is it collects all of the twigs before they have an opportunity to become trees. It collects all of the ideas before they have opportunities to be developed, and puts them together and turns these mindful, intelligent people, these potential geniuses, these potential innovators, into a mindless mob. And that's the problem with fascism, is it does that. Okay, so from beginning, mankind has struggled between two. Fascism promises to save freedom, promises nothing, but it allows everything. I went over that. Now let's apply this to something current. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. In many places today, cooperation with DEI framework is incentivized through contracts, grants, compliance scores, hiring and promotion metrics, and mandatory trainings. Sometimes the message feels less like treat people fairly and more like affirm this ideology. By my definition of fascism, a political system that offers security in exchange for willing indoctrination into a single ideology, that's a problem. If a potential employee a potential employee can be quietly screened out for not affirming a DEI ideology, while those who affirm it are rewarded with career safety, then we're not just encouraging fair conduct, we're conditioning belief. That's how a republic protects liberty. Wait a minute. That doesn't make sense there. What did I say there? Okay, well, anyways, essentially, you've got a company, you've got a corporation that is being incentivized by the government to take part in this ideology, this DEI ideology. And people who don't believe in the DEI ideology, or they see that there's flaws with it and it's not a good ideology, there's holes in it, it could cause some problems, those people are screened out, they don't get jobs. And I know at my last job, I was asked questions about what does DEI mean to you? And I had to answer those questions correctly or I wasn't going to get a job. And this place where I'm working now, if I don't affirm the DEI ideology, then my opportunities for promotion or anything are pretty much zero. So I have to do this in order to maintain any kind of employment security. And that is the definition of fascism. You willingly indoctrinate yourself in a political ideology in order to get security from the government. And see, that is wrong. I should not have to do that in order to secure my position. Sorry, I looked at the slide before and it made a lot of sense, but in a free system, your conduct must be fair and lawful, but your conscience is your own. Fascism demands unity of belief, while a constitutional republic demands only equal treatment under the law. When government incentivizes or push organizations to punish dissent from an approved ideology, we drift from liberty towards loyalty oaths. That's the bundle tightening. That's the path back to fascism. Soft at first, then hard. And so you see, in this scenario, you can have a constitutional republic that supports fascist ideologies. The government itself does not have to, the government does not have to commit itself to the ideology of fascism. You can have, there are parts of the American political system that they are fascist ideologies. And that is another reason why you elect a representative like me. I use critical thinking skills to understand the whole framework here, everything that we're going through. I see DEI may have had the best of intentions. You know, the whole DEI thing may have started off with the best of intentions. And I said this a couple of shows ago. If you're going to go into politics, there's two things you really have to remember. One is that the road to ruin is paved with good intentions. And number two is you serve the people, not an agenda. You are not there to serve an agenda. That agenda, serving that agenda may guarantee your position, but it's not going to help the people. And understand the road to ruin is paved with good intentions. You may have the best of intentions. DEI, the people who gave the check, you know, the thumbs up on DEI, those people had the best of intentions, but the execution has caused problems in the corporate America. Corporations are failing now because they have to obey DEI regulations. And America is $35 trillion in debt because the United States government incentivizes these ideas that just don't work. And remember, weak ideas from weak-minded people, that is fascism. If the government is propping up, is trying to push weak ideas that come from weak-minded people, that is the nature of fascism. That's how fascism comes about. And we don't like fascism in America. Nobody likes fascism anywhere, okay? And you know, the problem is you really don't know that you're doing this stuff until it's a little bit too late. But anyways, let me see. Our founding fathers understood that danger. That's why they created a system where no one man could ever rule as king. A king both creates and enforces policy. His word is law. But the President of the United States is not a king. The President's job is to carry out the laws written and passed by the representatives of the people. The President serves at the will of the people, bound by the Constitution, limited by Congress, and answerable to the courts. That separation of power is what keeps liberty alive. For generations, two great oceans insulated us from the wars and the empires that consumed the old world. Our vast farmland gave us self-sufficiency, the ability to feed ourselves, defend ourselves, and stand apart from the chaos abroad. But the world has grown smaller. Distance no longer protects us the way it once did. Ideas, weapons, and information cross oceans in seconds. Our strategic advantage has diminished, but our founding principles have not. Those principles are that all people are created equal and that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are among those rights. Okay, the Declaration of Independence says among those rights are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. We also have the right to piss each other off and to voice the fact that we are pissed off at each other. Everyone has the right to mind someone else's business, and everyone has the right to remind those people that the last time I checked, what I do with my life is nobody's business but mine, so I don't need an excuse, and I don't owe you an explanation. Everyone also has the right to tell anyone that doesn't like your attitude to get back on the road that brought you here and take it until you fucked all the way off. So that's my attitude. Some people claim that our government doesn't work because it doesn't do exactly what they want it to do. But as an engineer, remember, I'm an engineer, I can tell you this, that's not how the world works. One of the first things I learned in engineering is that everything in the universe, including people, is bound by the laws of physics. Just because something isn't doing exactly what you want it to do doesn't mean that it's broken. Engineers know that that progress takes structure, patience, and time. We use data-driven frameworks like plan, do, check, act cycle, and Lean Six Sigma methodologies to make gradual, measurable measurable improvements. These systems don't work by emotion, they work by iteration, step by step. Test, evaluate, and improve again and again. Political systems are no different. They can't instantly bend to every desire or demand. They rely on the same principles of balanced feedback and continuous improvement. Something isn't necessarily broke just because it isn't doing exactly what you want it to do. In both engineering and government, progress comes from understanding what can be changed, what must be measured, and what must simply be respected. That's the real strength of a republic. It's not designed for perfection, it's designed for persistence. And that's us. We may not be perfect, but we are persistent. And this is what protesters think we see whenever they're out there doing their little Antifa thing and getting smoke bombs, and they got their little Fisher-Price loudspeakers and everything. And this is what we actually see. So if you're a protester, if you're one of those little Antifa protester guys and you're out there on the road and you're like protesting, nah, 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 I'm a protester, just understand, we don't see you as actually having a rational voice. We don't actually see you as somebody whose opinions and ideas we need to respect. We don't see you as the big tree. We see you as the small twig. We see you as an idea. You have ideas that are absolutely terrible. And the reason your ideas are terrible is because you're young and you're stupid. Young people have stupid ideas because they aren't old people. The way to have good ideas is to have really stupid ideas that fail and then just keep on going until you come up with good ideas. My number one philosophy in life is this: the only people who never do anything wrong are the people who never do anything at all. So you Antifa people, just understand, we're annoyed by you, but we're not going to throw you in prison or kill you or anything like that, because you have ideas. You have ideas. They're terrible ideas because you're young. They are terrible ideas. But as you grow older, as you mature, you will see the flaws in your ideas. You will go through the iterative process of idea making, failure, acceptance, and step by step, change after change after change, and eventually you will come up with good ideas. And one of the best ideas will be, get a damn job. Get an actual job, a real job, okay? And eventually you will get a family and you'll have to buy groceries and you'll have to actually produce stuff, and you will learn what it's like to be an adult. And then maybe you can start into the world of politics and actually do some kind of help, and you'll have to deal with Antifa of your own. So that's just, that's the way that's going to happen. So anyways, this is what we're going to see. So, okay, this is the end of my thing. The 10 big things I've got here: remove $5 trillion from national debt, propose 28th Amendment for transparency and financial incentives, secure America's digital infrastructure by requiring PLCs be built domestically, tuberculosis and polio screening for all migrants as well as food workers, 5-pillar blueprint to empower local governments, protecting our law enforcement through the Reasonable Operation Space Act, requiring early measles vaccination, American Talent First Act to ensure American workers are prioritized for American jobs, and immunotherapy for cancer research, and in-person voting. Those are the 10 big things I'm gonna try to get going. But I've got more ideas. Those are the big ones. I support President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. I think everybody should. He's done a good job. I think he can keep it going. Make America great again. MAGA. That's what MAGA stands for. MAGA, make America great again. Well, I'll tell you what. I say I want to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district. That's what I stand for. I mean, yeah, I support the MAGA agenda, but my whole function as a representative will be to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district. So, once again, I am Tom Timbrooks, Thomas W. Timbrooks for the United States House of Representatives, Oregon's 6th Congressional District for the Republican Party. Please vote for me. I want to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district. And thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for listening. I really hope that you stuck around. So Take care and be safe.